Hello.
I'm starting to see folks coming in. We're going to give it a minute. All right. I think most everyone is here, and I just saw Erin is recording. Thank you, Erin, for taking care of that. We will go ahead and get started and see if we have a few more folks that join us as we go through. Tonight, I'm going to jump over to share screen so that you can see what I've got up here. Can everyone see the PowerPoint? A head nod is sufficient. Thank you. Tonight, as we go through, I'm going to give it a moment here. It doesn't want to advance very fast, so bear with me. I've got an agenda that's going to pop up here in just a second. Maybe. There we go. Okay. My name is Kimberly Reed, and for those of you that may not know me, I'm actually the president-elect of the Junior League of Kansas City, Missouri. Tonight, as we go through, I'm going to talk about some various website tools and resources. We're going to do a virtual tour of headquarters, which is not easy to do in this format. And then at the end, I just have kind of some fun questions to ask of folks as we go through this. Normally, this event happens in June or July every year, and it's informally known as Rookie Rally. And so tonight, we've kind of changed the name of it a little bit to newer leader or rookie leader training, but hopefully you'll walk away with some hints and tips. For those of you that are a little bit more seasoned that might be in this group, perhaps you'll learn something new as we go along. I also want to introduce Maggie Terry McGuire. She is a GMM committee member, and she is going to monitor the chat tonight. So if you have questions as we go through, Maggie will monitor those, and then she'll let me know. Please ask as we go through. This is very informal, and if we were at headquarters, we would this would be pretty informal in terms of being able to ask things as we go along. So what I want to start off with is talking about some of our website tools and resources that we have on our platform, which is commonly known as Digital Cheetah.
Kimberly, I'm sorry, real quick. We have someone in the wrong room.
Oh.
Do we know how to get her back in?
I do not, because I don't have co-hosting ability.
Okay.
So I can't move her.
Hey, is it tomorrow? I think I'm saying your name right. I'm going to reach out to Christy and try to get her to work on it, okay?
Okay, thank you.
So bear with us for a few minutes.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Erin. So this is the page that comes up if you've gone to jlkc.org and you've logged in. This is not the public side. This is the members only side. And most of you at this point should have your login. If you don't, please holler and let us know after the presentation this evening, and we'll make sure that you've got what you need to be able to access this. This is what your page should look like. Obviously, it'll have your name, any events that you have signed up for that are coming up, league events, your schedules over here, so you can see this has tonight's GMM on here. It also lists the groups that you're in. I will point out these little buttons here with the donation, the COVID-19, and then some FAQs look a little bit different now. Terry has been working on the website this week to kind of freshen it up a little bit for everyone. Your contact info, if you need to change it, you can take care of that right here where it says edit profile. But this is a page that should be fairly familiar with everyone, I hope. If it's not, I'll guarantee you over time, you'll start to become more familiar with it. The other thing I want to point out is at the bottom, you'll see obligations. Oops, excuse me, obligations down here. So this has your placement sign up, which everyone at this point is probably or should be in a placement. It has what's required and then of course what's completed. So you can see here, I already attended a training back in early July, so I've already received credit for that. So that's why I have one that's completed, and then after tonight, it'll say 2 completed. Your dues, information is down here as well, and if you are required to do AMRs. Those of us who have been in the league for 10 years or more are no longer required to do all member rotations, which is what AMR stands for. So you'll see mine is, it's 0 is required. So that's why that box is already checked. The next area that you're going to probably spend the most time in as a new leader, where you're looking for things or you're needing to find some information, is the resources tab, which I've got the drop down box here, as well as the calendar. I'll go back and talk about the calendar here in a little bit. But up at the top, you can see that on the black bar, you have some different tabs to choose through. Your groups tab will show all of the different groups that your placement automatically puts you in. So that's one that can be helpful if you're needing to hunt down someone. But what's actually more helpful is the directory. And so you'll see under resources, the directory and the birthday calendar are the first two sub-tabs that pop up. The directory is searchable by last name, first name, as well as by placement and placement group. So for example, if you have a question for someone who you know is on training, or perhaps you don't know who the training committee chair is, all you have to do is search by that placement group and you can find everyone in training. And so there's different ways you can sort through that. The other nice thing about the directory is it goes back about 12 to 15 years. So if you're needing to hunt down someone from a few years back, you can sort it by whatever league year you're looking for. So that can be helpful. You'll also see underneath, we have AMR shift information, board and council information. The board and council lists all the names of the individuals who are serving on those different roles and various committee chairs that serve on the different councils. There are dinner club menus that are archived here. So if you're looking for some meal ideas, or maybe you're hosting some groups, you can go back and take a look at past menus. There's also the eBlast archive, which some of you may be getting a regular email from Terry. If not, it's okay. At some point when you serve in a leadership role where you may be submitting content for the monthly e-blasts that go out, she will send a link to that archive so you can go back and see what's been posted the previous year. Very helpful for those who may not know what to write. When they've been asked to submit something, perhaps there's an upcoming community event that we want to publicize. Perhaps you are working on developing a training. If you're on admissions committee, you might be wanting to promote a potential new member event, that sort of thing. All of those details can be found in the eBlast archive. So that can be very helpful for those who are needing some help with what they need to submit in terms of content. Then
Kimberly, can you see the questions?
I cannot, no.
Okay, let me read. You guys can unmute yourself and ask if she's in a place. I'll just ask you this one right now.
Sure.
Sarah Bunting wants to know, is that how she finds out who is on her committee, the directory, and search by placement?
Yes, you can. The other thing is you'll see down here in the lower right corner are your groups. And so you can see mine aren't, not all of them are showing. I have multiple groups, but right off the bat, the very first group that comes up for me is Board of Directors. So if I were to click on that, it would show everyone who is on the board this year. So that's the easiest way to get to who you're serving with on your team, whether you're leading that group or you're in a group. That's the fastest way. The next method would be use the directory.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. I am going to then go back here. Erin, were there any other questions? Or Maggie?
That's all I see right now.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to jump underneath the eBlast archive is the FAQ page, and this page has been updated a little bit. It was updated again earlier this week and is still going through some revisions. I took a screenshot here so you can kind of get a sense of just some basic things. There's some general questions here about our mission, membership in general, placement, placement positions, and I'm going to talk about that again in just a moment as we go through this PowerPoint. And then also our policies and procedures, standing rules, that sort of thing. You'll see there's also even an acronym cheat sheet here. Um, One of the habits we have as an organization is we do often talk in acronym. I mentioned AMRs earlier, which does stand for all member rotation. Um, so if you're fairly new or definitely a newer leader, you might want to take a look at that sheet as well. It's a habit that we have in terms of speaking sometimes in acronym ease. I'm going back to the main page here for the member, and I'm going to jump down and talk a little bit and point out um, this next link underneath FAQs, which says leadership and placement. If you were to click on that, it will take you to the leadership and placement books. These are updated annually right around the February-March timeframe. And so that's also the same time frame when we go about doing the placement process. For individuals who might be pursuing a leadership position that requires interviewing with the nominating committee, that includes the board of directors, that includes Holiday Mart chairs. Holiday Mart itself gets placed earlier in the year through nominating as well. Not all of those positions require interviews, just the chair and co-chair role. But you'll see all of those books are listed here. And so as you're thinking ahead, believe it or not, the end of the year comes very quickly over time. And by January, folks will start to be thinking about what they might want to pursue the next year. And so the information on those positions are found under that link right there. So that's something that you'll want to go back to when you have time to read through. Within the placement books for leadership and placement positions, you'll find the description of the job, what the timeline looks like for the work that needs to be done, contact information for who has had the position previously, so you can reach out and ask some questions of someone who's served in that role. And then also just a general sense of what the skills are that you'll gain from involvement in that. I also want to point out underneath leadership and placement is the legacy fund. This is a fairly newer fund that we have established within the organization, going back the last 6 or 8 years. And this page talks about not only how to apply for the fund, if you would like to pursue a grant. It is intended for training and training development. It does not have to be training that you do within the league. There have been a number of people that have pursued grants that have allowed them to take training at other places around Kansas City, and even to travel to attend different training workshops outside of KC. So there's definitely some options there, and applying for these funds it's highly, highly encouraged. We want members to pursue it. And if you also feel the need to give back, we would also appreciate it if you're interested in considering a donation to that fund as well. But that is definitely something that is unique to our organization, and we want folks to take advantage of it. Underneath the legacy, you'll see the 2 links for membership and training, and I'm going to jump to the membership page first. This will often answer a lot of questions folks have about their obligations in particular when it comes to your membership status and what you're trying to accomplish throughout the year. Karen had talked about checking the box, that sort of thing. I do want to point out that this past year, the board made the decision that general membership meetings and trainings are interchangeable. So if you know that you only need 2 trainings and a GMM or whatever you might need to accomplish your obligations, you can sign up for 3 trainings and they'll count. One of them will count towards your GMM requirement and vice versa. So oftentimes I have a hard time getting to trainings throughout the year, but I'm usually at GMMs. So a lot of my GMM credits will roll over to my training needs. In addition, there's information here about the AMR, the all member rotations. This year, I will tell you, I can guarantee you the AMR process will look different. Don't know yet what that's going to look like. The Holiday Mart chairs are working on that, so stay tuned. There will be information forthcoming. And then also dues information is here as well. And I do want to mention, as we get closer next year to the dues renewal timeframe, we do have the Membership Assistance Fund available, which was communicated out earlier this spring, and some of you may have taken advantage of that. We do have some members who did, which is great. I have no details on it because all that information is kept private. But do keep that in mind if you need assistance with paying dues. We certainly don't want that to be a hindrance in terms of staying a member of the organization. The next page underneath that was training. And so this is just some general information about trainings. There is an FAQ document that you'll see there in the upper right-hand corner that was put together a couple of years ago. By the Training Council to answer some basic questions. I also want to point out the ALCS series on this page. This is a program that we have been doing now going on about 6-7 years, somewhere along those lines. This is a relationship that the league has with the University of Missouri, Kansas City, specifically at the Midwest Center for Nonprofit Leadership, which is a part of the Block Business School. We provide this opportunity for graduate level courses for our members to take at a significantly reduced price. We have been blessed to have received several grants over the last several years that have helped offset a lot of the cost for this program, and so that's why we can offer it to our members at a substantial discount. Once someone completes all 12 of the courses that are offered, you do receive a certificate acknowledging that. Those that have attended these have raved about them because they have learned so much in regards to understanding how nonprofits work. And so some of the courses that are offered include topics like fundraising, but also leadership skill building, volunteer management, governance, that type of thing. So those are kind of the topic areas that are covered. And you don't have to take all 12. You can take one, you can take 5, you can take as many as you want. It doesn't matter. So in terms of pick and choose at your leisure. And again, those are optional for folks that may want to take advantage of that. I'm going to stop for a minute and ask if there are any questions in the chat. Maggie or Aaron, do we have any?
Let's see. Do we know when the ALCS series will resume?
I do not have a timeline on that, but I will make a note to ask our training director. I presume right now we are at the mercy of UMKC and what is happening with their fall schedule. So usually it starts up in September. I have not seen anything yet, and I know that most colleges and universities are a bit challenged at the moment as they figure out what that's looking like for the fall timeframe. If it does go online, I'm sure we'll try to pursue that as an opportunity. Dr. David Renz is the instructor for that series, and I am not sure if he's going to do online teaching or not. I know he likes in classroom better than online, just because there's more opportunity for engagement. But I will make a note and ask our training director about that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
I didn't see any.
Okay. We're going to jump to the tools section. This is the very last link here underneath the resources. And as you can see, it's got its own drop down here on the page. And so right off the bat, you see there are bylaws, standing rules, procedures, as well as our code of ethics document in terms of wanting to know about good governance and you know, how to find the answer to a question. Most of the time, most questions folks have around a lot of the work that we do as an organization can be found in these documents. We do not update the bylaws. Sorry, I have dogs barking. I apologize. We do update our bylaws occasionally. It's not at every general membership meeting, but it certainly is on a fairly consistent basis. The bylaws are changed with a vote of membership. So you will see those votes will come up only at general membership meetings. And that's a requirement of how that document works. Standing rules and procedures can be altered throughout the year by councils. Committees can make suggested changes, and they're pretty flexible documents in terms of what we need them to be. They're very organic, and they do change throughout the year and over the years to reflect whatever a committee or a council needs. And so the procedures document can be very helpful, especially for newer leaders, because it often outlines a lot of the work that you may need to be doing or answer a lot of the questions that you may have. So I encourage you to take a look at those as you have time. I also do want to point out our brand guidelines. I would be remiss if I did not. Plus, we do have our director of marketing with us. And so this is important as she nods her head. So she talked a little bit about how we're using one of the tools this year. But right on our page here, right underneath the link that went to the bylaws, the next thing is our branding guidelines. And so we do take these very seriously in terms of how we use our logos. And so if you have questions, I highly encourage you to reach out to the Marketing Council and those committees. We do, like I said, monitor these closely. You will see, for example, this evening, the PowerPoint template I'm using is a branded template that we use for trainings like this. If we were presenting at a GMM, we would use the same template. If you come to the board and you need to present, we have a document that your council director will give you at some point that tells you how to go about preparing to present at the board, but also how to use this template to convey your information. So we've spent many years perfecting this brand in terms of making sure folks understand kind of how it works. And you've probably noticed we also have a color scheme of red, black, and white, which is comes from AJLI. And again, I just spoke an acronym. AJLI is the Association of Junior Leagues International. So that's our parent entity. All right, I'm going to pause here again for a second to see if we have any questions, because the next 3 slides are very busy in terms of what I'm going to show you.
No questions at this point.
Okay.
Unless someone has one, but
we're going to keep moving along because I don't want to keep you guys all night. So the first slide here is the link to the forms. And so as you can see on the drop down, it's underneath the brand guidelines. A couple things that I want to point out. This page itself is quite extensive. The next 2 slides after this are screenshots of this entire web page. We've put a lot out here over the years. So the first couple things I want to highlight, though, for those of you that are newer leaders, if you need to assemble your agenda for a committee meeting, you have a template right here that you can download. Same thing for your minutes. And the reason why we use these is eventually these filter up to the council level. And as you'll see, your council minutes look the same. And all of the council minutes actually show up on a monthly basis as part of the board packet, because the board members do read those. That way we're abreast as to what's happening on all the different councils throughout the organization. In addition, I've got circled down here the room reservation setup form. Once, at some point, when we return to Junior League headquarters, you'll want to fill that out whenever you're scheduling a committee meeting. This actually is an automated form that goes directly to Jane Guthrie, who is the administrative coordinator at Junior League headquarters, and she's also the one responsible for the main calendar and scheduling. This becomes really important because one of the challenges we've had over the years is there have been times, believe it or not, where we have used every room at headquarters many nights in a row. Because we have so many meetings and committees and other things happening. Right now, during the pandemic, if you are holding a committee meeting via Zoom, we would request that you still fill this out and notify Jane, and she'll note on the calendar that the meeting is happening via Zoom. Right now, if you go in and you look at the calendar, you'll see there's quite a few like that listed. So regardless, we still want to try to capture the information, but definitely more so once we return back to headquarters. There's also a few other things on here. The PowerPoint template that I mentioned is on this member tools section. You'll also see a name badge request. So if you don't have your badge, if you've lost your badge, if you have a committee member who has lost their name badge and needs to have one reordered, that is the form that you fill out. And again, it goes automatically to Jane and she will take care of that. So there's definitely a number of items on this in particular that could be very helpful. Our 501c3 status is right up here at the top. If you need the tax exempt form, the tax exempt letter is down here towards the bottom, as well as the tax exempt card. So if you are buying supplies for a project, number one, make sure you buy it in Missouri. We are only tax exempt in Missouri, not Kansas. And two, print these off and take them with you so that then you can not worry about having to pay taxes. That way, when you submit your request for reimbursement so that you can get repaid, which is the payment request form, one of the things that members don't often realize is the league will not pay you back for taxes because we are tax exempt. So therefore, that's often money that sometimes if you don't use the tax exempt form, you wind up using out of pocket. So do keep that in mind. With that said, I mentioned the payment request form. It's right here kind of towards the bottom. It's underneath the name badge request. That form is electronic as well. And so it can be filled out electronically and you can scan or take a photo of a receipt and include it with it when you submit it for reimbursement. Couple things on purchasing. If you are buying food and drink for a league event, your council director will most likely sign off on that and approve it. So for example, if you're chairing a new member event, a potential new member event, a JL 360 event, food and drink can be reimbursed. Alcohol cannot, not without Karen's permission. Alcohol purchased, even for a GMM, for any event, must have presidential approval. So whoever the president is that year must sign off on an alcohol purchase. In addition, absolutely no red wine at headquarters. We replaced the carpet a few years ago. You'll notice when you're there, it's a very light color. Red wine will stain it. And we know that we can't get that out of the carpet. So absolutely no red wine. We say that over and over again. I'm trying to think on this page, I think I covered most everything on here that you would need in.
I have a question.
Sure.
How do I get a Zoom account so that I can host a committee meeting?
Who's your council director?
Sarah Dempster.
Talk with Sarah and see if she can set you up.
Okay.
She may have one already set up for planning that you could use. So
oh, okay.
Why.
I just used the planning one. I wouldn't have my own for my committee.
You can ask her. I think you could do either, but just ask her what her preference is.
Okay. Thank you.
And so for anyone else who wants to do that, just talk to your council director and see. It may be easier to use the council one or not. It just depends. It also depends on schedule wise what's happening. So just ask them. looking through the rest of this, I'm going to show you. So this is a continuation of that same web page. We got a lot of forms. Right now, under community, you'll see A-Team is there. If anyone has an organization that they work with outside of the league that wants A-Team volunteers, that's the link to that one. Headquarters is also available for rental to outside groups. So you'll see that link is up there now. One thing I will point out is I'm actually a past GMM chair, so I understand the importance of this. Under the general membership section, you'll see there's an announcement request form, and then there's also a table request form. If your group, committee, council, whatever needs a table at an in-person GMM, whenever those resume, please, please, please fill out this form. It's really helpful when it comes to planning out the logistics for the event. Also, if you need to get an announcement on the program for that evening, something that you want to share with the rest of the membership or whatever the case may be, please fill out the announcement request form as well. This is really important in terms of trying to map out what those evenings look like and the schedule. So I will point those two out specifically. As we go down here, you'll see there's a lot more forms under sponsorship, fundraising, and then leadership and placement. The process by which we go about updating all those leadership positions starts happening in the spring, so you'll hear more about it then, and you'll see the forms to update them are located here. So when it comes time to start going through that, we start it as early as November. We try to get it wrapped up by February, because sometimes we add positions or we eliminate positions, and that's something that's always done at the council level, and then brought to the board for approval. Again, continuing, you'll see at the top here are transition links. At the end of the league year, your council director will work with you on transitioning to whoever your successor is. Under general league information, you've got updated documents for 2020, 2021. So if you aren't sure about where a position sits on a specific council, there's a flow chart there. There's council specific organizational charts that Terry has created over the years. These are all very helpful in terms of getting a sense of, who sits where and how do I find so-and-so, or who's responsible for something. These can be really helpful with helping to kind of figure that out. There's additional information here about media and communications. You'll see the e-blast schedule that Aaron's team mapped out is on here as well. In addition, there's Inside Scoop. The Hey Orca text line that Aaron talked about earlier is listed here. So you see that 844 telephone number. And she's got next to it, make sure you include your name. So if she has questions, she can find you, or someone on her team can find you.
And a description, because so many people just send in pictures with no description. So descriptions,
Good point.
descriptions.
We need to update. We'll see if Terry can update that too. Name and a description of the photo. That way we know what we're looking at. Under membership, you'll see here a couple things I'm going to point out. We have the annual awards nomination form. That's one that we get to in the spring of every year, and we do solicit nominations for awards. Also, the GEM Awards, which was in tonight's program, by the way, if you took a look at that. We do recognize GEMS. So GEMS is an acronym which stands for Going the Extra Mile. A lot of people probably don't know that, but when the GEM Award was established and the little thank yous that they were established the year Marissa Schaffner was president, Jessica Earnshaw actually came up with that acronym. And so that's why we call them GEMs. And so it's just a way to say thank you, and it's a little shout out that we do at general membership meetings for members who have stepped up and have perhaps really gone kind of out of their way to accomplish something to help others. It's just a nice way of saying thank you. You can nominate a fellow league member for a GEM when you see them doing something that you appreciate or that you know others appreciate. So please, please, please use that. Underneath it, I'm also going to point out here the gracious gestures form. This is one where if a member is got something exciting going on in their world, or they need a little pick-me-up, perhaps something has happened, you can fill out this form and the Gracious Gestures Committee will reach out to them and send them a card, a congrats note. Perhaps they've relocated to a new home, whatever the case may be. It's just a way to reach out and say, we appreciate you, we know what's going on, just wanted to touch base, that sort of thing. So we encourage you to really use that as well. There's a few other things here under membership. If you need to do a status change request, sometimes folks want to go on leave of absence throughout the year. That's where that would be. And then if you think that you're moving and you need to do a transfer request, this is where that's at. So if you anticipate that happening, you can transfer your membership to another league if you're moving to a city that has, or a location that has another league nearby. So do keep that in mind. All right, any questions? I'm going to talk about a couple of things and then we're going to jump to touring headquarters. Okay, not hearing any.
Yep, none.
Okay, fraud reporting is something that we do take very seriously, and so there is an anonymous reporting hotline. I do want to point that out here on this slide. So if you ever have concerns about ethics or violations, feel free to report it. There is a monthly report that comes in and it's monitored by the executive director, and I believe the director of finance also gets a copy of that monthly report as well. There are some additional tools here for leadership that you can click through. I've taken a screenshot of it. This is very helpful for those of you that might be first time committee chairs and you're just looking for some additional suggestions on how to lead, or just kind of want to read through some things here on like effective meetings, that sort of thing. That is on this page as well.
Hey, real
And then
quick, Kimberly.
Underneath is social media. Yeah.
Annie Vargas, just for those of you that can't see chat, said you can also contact the Gracious Gestures Committee by sending an email to caring@jlkc.org, just before we get too far from that.
Thank you. Thank you, Erin. Okay, so this social media page is the last one here underneath the tools section. And so right here we have links to all of our social media. Erin, do you know, have we updated this year yet? Are you guys working on that?
We're working on it.
I thought you were. I knew there was a plan. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
we've done an audit and stuff. We haven't changed this yet. We've audited all the socials. So we're like halfway through.
That's what I thought. Okay. So one thing I would say is, so all of these exist out there, these Facebook pages, these Twitter accounts, Instagram, etc. One of the things you may want to do is come back and check on this. And I know the Marketing Council will get a lot of this information out as it changes, but do take advantage and follow these accounts. Feel free to post on them. You'll see, especially the Facebook accounts and the Instagram are pretty busy on a regular basis. So definitely make sure you're aware of them, use them as resources, and then also share them, please, with your committees.
Can I pop in here really quick?
Sure.
Just to talk, because this ends up hurting somebody's feelings every year, so I don't want to hurt people's feelings. In the two Facebook groups, if you guys are wondering why we have the two Facebook groups, the JLKC Connect and the JLKC Members, Members is for junior league information only. JLKC Connect is where like, hey, my work is hiring. Hey, does somebody know a good nanny? But I will tell you, I've been a little lax on it these first couple of months because we're going through a pandemic and stuff. But you know, there's always these people that have opinions in the league. Just get used to it. They're on me right now. So If you put something in members that is not about the league, it will get taken down. It has nothing to do with you. It's just a lot of the older sustainers only want to be in one Facebook group, and they don't do business like that right now, or they don't do networking like that right now. So members, Junior League stuff, connect. That's where you do all your other stuff. Thanks. Thanks, Kimberly.
Sure. Correct. And if, as you follow those, you'll start to kind of figure that out too. So if you're not familiar with them. I do want to jump real quick to CAP. Some of you will have items that will need to go through the communication approval process. We use this for things that are both internal and external, and the instructions are right here on this page. So just make sure you read through this. There's some helpful tips. You'll see this tells you how to name your file. And it also shows you who the CAP reviewers are. So you'll see them listed there. The PowerPoints for tonight, for example, all went through CAP. And this is where it's located. It's underneath your groups, and then you'll see communication approval process. So most likely for many of you, for most of you, your council directors, your committee chairs, they'll help you out with this. This is just so that we ensure we're consistent on our communications and our branding, which of course I had talked about earlier. I took a screenshot real quick here of the calendar. So that's this up on the black bar. It's the fourth one over there, kind of in the middle. This is what the calendar looks like. If you're not familiar with this, the more you use it, the more you'll start to get comfortable with it. You can click on any of the boxes, the colored boxes here, to get details, but you'll see for example, on August 5th, there's a training happening about resumes. You can sign up if you want right there. You click on it. It's being offered through Zoom. And once you click on it, it will allow you to register. So oftentimes those registration links are found in there. Okay, so I did want to mention the calendar. And you can advance, by the way, up here in the upper left-hand corner to see September, October, etc. So you can also sort. There is a calendar options thing here. So if you want to sort and only find trainings or only find stuff related to community council or planning council, it should allow you to do that. It is a little glitchy at times, but for the most part, you should be able to do that. This is the facility for those of you that are hopefully have been to headquarters or have spent some time there. If not, you'll eventually, once things resume to normal, get to. But this kind of gives you a sense, an idea of what the building looks like. Most often meetings take place in Roanoke 1 and 2. Some council meetings will take place here in the boardroom or in the council room, just depending on what's available. Just kind of depends on what your council needs are or your committee needs. In addition, when you fill out your room request, you can select which room you want. So if you think you're going to need a lot of space, you may have a large team or you're working on a project, you can use Roanoke. You can also use the project room. So you definitely have some options here. I'm not going to go through all of the different offices and such. This map is also up on the tools section. So are there any questions about this? And I listed just a few reminders. Check the calendar, schedule your meeting, even if you're using Zoom. Get to know Jane, our administrative coordinator. Jane is also a league member, by the way. She's a sustainer. And then remember the wine rule, no red wine. And then I'm also going to, point out the COVID-19 FAQs. These are on your member login section. They're one of those boxes, big red box right now. So this is kind of what the headquarters reopening is looking like at the moment. You can read through most of this at your leisure. It's what most facilities are doing. What's key to remember is this next slide. Is this right here. what the facility capacity is. And so this is one of the challenges we're having right now, because it really limits how many people can be at headquarters at the moment. So you'll notice most meetings aren't happening there because of this, because oftentimes we're more than 15 or we're more than 10, 12 people. So hopefully in time we'll be back to what our facility usage normally would look like. So that being said, I do want to wrap up with just a few questions. So Maggie or Aaron, if folks are chiming in the chat, I just have a few that I just wanted to kind of pop quiz everyone on. If we were meeting in person, I'd have prizes for you guys, by the way, but it's a little hard to do through Zoom, so I apologize. So your council or committee chair has asked you to run the next meeting, the next gathering. What is the first thing that you need to do? And I'll see if I can see the chat. Awesome. Sarah.
You see it? Okay.
Yep. Okay. Fill out the form. Check the calendar. All good responses. You are right. Yep. So, whoops, what you have here, ensure your space or your Zoom is scheduled. Inform your team that you've got the agenda ready to go and that you've set the date. So awesome. All right, our next one is, someone on your team has lost her name tag and asks you for help. What do you tell her? And do we have that's the response, by the way. Yep, there's a form for that, exactly. There's a form for almost everything we do. All right, so next question. You and your team have put together a presentation that will be shared with the community. What's the first step after you've developed your presentation? Awesome. You guys are awesome. I'm glad you guys have CAP. Yes, CAP. That's like one of the most important things that we do. All right, and then, whoops. Last question. You need to schedule a committee meeting. How do you do it? And you already have the answer from the previous question. Right, there's a form, exactly. So work with Jane, fill it out, get with Jane to get your information. So, all right, that's it for tonight. I am happy to answer any questions that anyone has. But if not, we are right at 8:30, which is right when we were supposed to end and wrap up.
I know there was one question about nightly updates.
So you can sign up for those depending on what group you're in. And so I don't have, let me see if I can go back. Maybe I can try to show you. So right here in your groups, you can sign up for nightly updates. Once you click on one of these, it'll say there's a box, and I think it's in the upper right corner, where you can sign up for regular nightly updates. So for example, I get nightly updates for the board and for CAP and for planning, because those are the ones that I monitor regularly for different documents. Anytime a document has been added or someone's changed a file, like for CAP, it'll send me an update at 3 or 4 in the morning. So like yesterday, there were 6 things I saw that got altered. People were going in and approving and changing and whatnot. I don't log in to look at it. I just know it's there. It's sitting there. So depending on what you need, just click on one of your groups and you should be able to do that. If you have a hard time with it, holler at me and I can walk you through it. So, all right, any other questions? If not, we're done. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Kimberly.
I hope you have a good rest of the evening.
Thank you so much. Happy birthday.
Thanks. Thank you.
Kimberly.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.